My name is Elise Matson-Dite. I am the Chief Learning Officer for the Procedo project. And again, really happy and excited to present Kurt Lewis today, who's going to talk to us about the marketing Jumpstarter, some tips and tricks and tools really to kick off your marketing enrollment program and get that into high gear. We know that right now, even though we are dealing with the Christmas holidays and the Christmas break, which is wonderful, fun, but also exciting and sometimes stressful time in the school year, we do need to be thinking about our marketing and enrollment plan for the upcoming year, because we often kick that off in Catholic Schools Week. So we really we're really excited to have Kurt here today to talk a little bit about that. We're so happy to have Kurt with us. He has extensive experience in marketing and enrollment. He has been a consultant focused on Catholic elementary schools. He's current consultant right now. He's the former director of enrollment management with the Archdiocese of Chicago's Office of Catholic Schools. He's offered coaching. He's delivered training to more than 130 Catholic elementary schools. He also did a lot of specific training for school leaders and school marketing directors when he worked with the Office of Catholic Schools. I actually know Kurt from my time there, and he's a wonderful trainer. He's a wonderful speaker, and really related so well to the principals and was always willing to help them both collectively and individually. He's also presented at various regional and national conferences, including NCEA in 2017, 18, and 19. He also spent 5 years as the director of marketing at St. Pius V School in Chicago. So once again, I'm very, very pleased to introduce Kurt to you today.
Well, thank you, Elise. That was very, very kind of you. And of course, it was a pleasure working with Elisa as well as at the Archdiocese of Chicago. And really, I'm thrilled to be working with the Procedo project now. This is such a cool opportunity, and hopefully everyone on the call knows that this is such a neat thing that they're offering, and to offer it for free is really a unique value for schools. And hopefully today you're going to get quite a lot out of this, and it will be definitely worth your time and certainly worth the cost of free. So I'm excited to get started. So this is a pretty dense presentation, so stay calm, stay with me, and just know that these slides are going to be available after the presentation.
And also, if you do have any questions, I'll be monitoring both the Q&A and the chat throughout, so feel free to put those in, and we'll definitely have some Q&A at the end as well.
Perfect. Thank you. So a little bit about me. You read about it in the previous screen. You can visit kurtthemarketer.com, my brand new website that literally just launched this morning, if you want to learn more about everything that I do. But here are some of the services that I offer to both dioceses and to individual schools. And I also wanted to mention too that the services, so anytime you see EMS, by the way, that means Enrollment Marketing Solutions, which happens to be me. So EMS services can be paid for through title funds, which is a really unique opportunity for schools. But following this presentation, as I mentioned, you will have access to the EMS Digital Marketing Resource Library. So you'll have all of the materials that we talked about today. You'll also be able to contact me if you'd like for just further information on everything that we've talked about here. And the most important point, general support and cheerleading. I love Catholic schools. That's why I do what I do. I don't do it to get rich. None of us do. None of us are in this Catholic education game to get rich. And so far, we're all doing quite well at that. So yeah, hopefully you'll stay in touch. One thing that I'll say about my business is that I also just love to help. So if you ever find that you need just a quick bit of advice or one small tool or something like that, please email me, please reach out, and odds are good that I'll be able to get back to you very quickly with something simple and something that you can put into use very quickly. So of course, what are we talking about today? The goal is more kids in great Catholic schools. Now, hopefully you're taking care of the great Catholic schools part. I can help you take care of the more kids part. And how do we do that? Well, we look at something called the Enrollment Management Continuum, and that goes like recruit, retain, refer, and repeat. And this is a continuum because it happens over and over and over again every school year throughout your history. But remember, each one of these elements is equally important. I think a lot of schools put a lot of emphasis on recruitment, finding new students from out in the world, and they don't do as well retaining families as they could. So if we're focused on retention, That's going to keep the families that we already have so that we don't have to find new families to replace them. And if we satisfy our current families enough, they're going to become referring families. And then we can just repeat the cycle. They'll bring in students for us, and it will make our work easier and easier every single year. Hopefully you've heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And this is a pretty old concept that I have gone ahead and co-opted and turned into Kurt's hierarchy of school marketing needs. And you can see here that we have a pyramid. And of course, what's the most important part of the pyramid? The bottom. So that's why we're going to start with the most important part and the most overlooked part of your marketing program. And I don't just say that as a marketer or as someone that you could hire to help you with this. I say that as someone who has done this for schools and done this with dozens and over 130 different schools that I've worked directly with. This is vitally important. If you are a principal or a vice principal or a teacher or a volunteer, you cannot do this alone. You need someone to help you with this project, especially if you're a school leader. The whole point of me saying more kids in great Catholic schools is I need principals to be in their office doing the things that great principals do, being transformative leaders for their students, for their faculty, for their community. And if they're not doing that, the quality of school suffers and it's harder to market anyway. So I encourage you to think about how you're going to find marketing support as you go along. One of the things I'll make available to you immediately is the staffing models document. Now, this is just a really broad example of ways that you might staff your marketing need inside of your school. And down below at the bottom, you'll see in very tiny print on here, all of the things that you might expect from each of these roles if you were to bring someone into your school to help you with these things. But more importantly, you can look at the top and you can see roughly what it might cost you to, say, hire a full-time marketer, all the way down to bringing in a college intern or a board committee or a volunteer. These are free ways of generating marketing support for your school. Having someone there you trust who can help you tell your school's story. The most important part of this, again, don't do it alone. If you're a principal, I hope it's not in your lap. I hope that you are able to make decisions on it, but find people who can go ahead and go out and execute that work for you. And we're going to talk more in depth as we go along about how some of these folks might be able to help you. As far as what I can do for you in that realm for hiring, you'll also receive today access to sample job descriptions that will be in the digital library. I can help you post your postings online. I can help you source candidates, vet them, interview them, train them, and even evaluate them down the road. These are all things that I'm happy to help you with. But that's the marketing support part. You'll notice we kind of buzzed through that. It is incredibly important, but it does take time. It is something that you need to go into in some depth. So if you'd like to talk about that more, please reach out later. I do have a free consultation link on my site. And so we can talk for half an hour and just figure out what it is you might need for marketing support. But beyond that, the next most important thing is your value proposition. The value proposition is a tricky little piece. And it's hard to explain exactly what it is because a value proposition can be any number of things. And in practice, in layout, it can be a whole wide variety of things. But I'm going to break it down for you a little bit to talk about what it is for you. Your value proposition is your starting place. It is what are the distinguishing aspects and programs and dynamics that really set your school apart. So often when I walk into a school, I say, well, what are you? What do you do? What do you do better than anyone else? And the answer that I hear so often is that we are Catholic, we are excellent, and we are safe. That's no longer enough. That should be the baseline for any Catholic school. Parents should expect when they bring their kid to a Catholic school that is going to be Catholic, excellent, and safe. What they're looking for now is not just a Catholic school, but your Catholic school. Why should it be your school instead of the one down the street or the one across town? They can choose any one they want. So what sets you apart? This is why your school is worthy of their investment, both financial and emotional, because this is a real investment of time, talent, treasure, emotion, everything that goes along with being part of the school system. But once you understand your value proposition, you can condense it down into what I am calling the diamond. It has taken me years to get to this terminology, but this is the diamond. This is being able to tell me what your school is in one word or phrase or tagline or set of values, but in just one brief phrase, you can tell me exactly what your school is, and I can extrapolate from there. And then that diamond becomes your thesis statement for your entire school. And in fact, when we're talking about websites, the diamond is the most important part. It is the thesis statement at the top of the website. Usually you'll have your school's name and your logo at the very top, and then right below that, you'll have your diamond. And that diamond should lead you into everything else that's on that website. Everything else on your website supports your thesis statement. So if you are an academic type, which sadly I am not, I am an ADHD person who struggles with a lot of this stuff. That's why I'm a creative marketer instead of a nose to the grindstone administrator. But if you're an academic type, you can think of your marketing process, and especially your website, as a thesis paper. State your diamond at the top, state your thesis up there, and support it with everything else that you have going on below. Here's an example of a few diamonds. So in this case, most of these are taglines. St. Teresa School, forming Christian scholars for the 21st century. St. Bartholomew, embracing our Catholic faith, enriching young minds, forming global citizens. Be a part of something greater. And I especially like that diamond because they intentionally chose the word greater, which has the connotations of both better than other options out in the world, but also greater than yourself, greater than you could be on your own. You can be part of a whole system that is greater than its individual pieces. So those are some examples of diamonds, and you've seen diamonds all over the world. Every company has their diamond, their tagline, their phrase. We need one for you. It's a critical piece to be able to talk about your school and help you understand what it is you're trying to market. I find that a lot of schools dive into their marketing efforts before they really know what they're trying to sell. So how do we find out what our value proposition is and then hone that down to the diamond? Well, we want to figure out what it is your school does better than anyone else. And there are a few things that we can look at to guide you in that direction. I think you can walk down your hallways and get an idea of all the great things that are happening there. And in reality, they may be quite similar to other Catholic schools in your area, but the way you talk about them is what's going to be unique. So one guiding point that you might start with is your mascot. You might have the Mustangs or the Cougars or the Pride or the Bulldogs. I was just working with a school in Miami, and their mascot is the Mustangs, and they didn't really know what to do with that. They didn't really know how to make that an engaging part of their value proposition. We worked on it for a couple hours. I sat in their office and we came up with some amazing things. And so now they have a school saying, a school motto: we are the Mustangs and we have horsepower. Horsepower. I loved it. I loved horsepower because it's got the dual connotations of both Mustangs are actual horses and Mustangs happen to be a really popular car that has horsepower itself. And so then we dive into what is horsepower. Well, your horsepower is the innate gift given to you by God. It is what kind of child you are. And it shows everyone that we are not trying to make every kid into the same kid. We're trying to educate individuals and try to bring out their horsepowers and make them the best version of themselves that they can be. So I loved that. The Mustangs have horsepower. You can also start with your namesake. So perhaps your school is Frassati or Blessed Trinity, St. Agatha, St. Joan of Arc. And I wanted to talk about Pier Giorgio Frassati in particular. There's a school here in the Chicago suburbs called Frassati Academy, and they chose Pier Giorgio Frassati, who's a very interesting guy. He's this rich Italian playboy up in the Alps, essentially. You know, he's gallivanting about and skiing and having a great time, and he'll bring all of his friends with him, and he'll pay for everything as long as they attend mass with him and pray regularly with him. He was spreading the word through actions, and Frassati has done a lot with this. Their diamond is reach for the heights, verso l'alto. My Italian is terrible, but verso l'alto. That was an actual quote from Pier Giorgio Frassati, encouraging all of the kids to reach for the heights. And then from there, they can talk about what those heights are and how they help kids reach them. Or you might just go with some values that you find to be intrinsic to what you do in your school. You might already know what these are. You might be able to walk into the hallway and see them right away already. Or you might have to gather and find out what we're all doing in common. You might talk to your teachers, your staff, and find out what it is we believe about this school and what it is other people believe about this school. You can take those values and then hone them into a value proposition, essentially using values instead of the things we've talked about above. Peacemaking, service, leadership, global citizenship, these are all terrific core values. As it happened, I was very fortunate when I worked at St. Pius X School in Pilsen here in Chicago. we, when I walked in, had the core value of peacemaking and had that value for many, many years. And it was the center of everything that we did. And so when we would teach lessons in school, it would be coming back to the lesson of how do we use this to make peace? How do we use this to include others rather than excluding? How do we then take those lessons out into the neighborhood and make this neighborhood in this world a better place? So the biggest thing that they were able to do with that core value was to create the Peacemaker Award. And they've been giving out that Peacemaker Award for decades. It is the highest honor that you can receive at St. Pius V School. And we would have people regularly come back and visit the school and say, I graduated in 1978. I was a peacemaker when I was in 7th grade, and I never forgot that. It was that important. And so it comes back to them over and over again. It is a part of every student who graduates from that school. So here are some core values, some virtues and values, and you'll have this list also for you to look at later. But I think it is just so much more impressive to look at these. And when a parent walks into your school and says, what do you do? Instead of saying, we have a STREAM program that educates kids in 4th through 8th grade that do all these amazing things and take them through all of this stuff. What if you could just start with, we do justice. We do social justice. We train our students to act in a just manner. We do charity. We are focused on giving to the people who have less than us, of understanding our privilege and our unique position to be able to give to those around us. We do tenacity. We don't give up. Even when things are a struggle for us, we make sure that our kids are taught to move forward, keep going no matter what, so that they can succeed in life, even if they don't have all of the skills of everyone around them. They have their own unique skills, and if they're tenacious, they'll be successful. So you can think about what values are most important in your school, and then look for where these values are evident in your school. So if you choose tenacity, charity, justice, walk around your school and look for those examples. This can be your tagline. This can be your diamond. At St. Anonymous School, we do charity, justice, and tenacity. People would understand that. And then you get to take that from there and talk about all of the ways that you educate kids to do those exact things. So nail down that value proposition before you dive into all of your marketing. It's going to make everything so much easier. Everything will flow from that. Once you nail down that value proposition, you can actually go back to your website and you'll find that everything that you listed on there will tie into that. All you have to do is just add a couple of words that say, this section is now about tenacity. This section is now about justice. And it will be so obvious in retrospect how it all ties together. But right now, if you go to your website, you'll notice most websites don't have a through line. They don't read like a thesis paper should. They don't prove the point about the school. They just give you disparate information across different pages because they were created at different times. So looking at your website, you want your value proposition to be evident on every page. Another thing you're going to have access to after this presentation will be the website best practices document. And these are some steps you can take to evaluate your own website. You can take this website checklist first and complete it. Just go through page by page and find out if you have the minimum information that you need to have on your website. There are also some extras in there that you could add to your website. Find out if that's all present. You would not believe how many times I go to a school's website and can't even find their address on the front page. It's vital, and yet a lot of people skip right over it. And so you'll find that you're looking at the St. Anonymous in California instead of the St. Anonymous in Maryland. Number two, you can look at your website through a different set of eyes. Just turn your brain a little bit and say, if I were a prospective parent, would I send my kids to this school based solely on this website? And if so, would I know how? Is there enough information on that site for me to know what the next steps are in registering my kid for this school? The sad fact is, this may be the only impression that parents ever get of your school. They go to your website and they aren't super impressed, and they've seen a couple of websites that are more impressive or have better information, and they just don't go on beyond that. They don't contact you for a tour. So we want to make sure that your website is compelling enough and has the right information to draw people in, because once you get them in for a tour, you've got them. They're going to register once they come into your school for a tour. Third, you can ask yourself, if I were a current parent at my school, would this website meet my needs? I need to make it clear that your homepage on your school's website is for prospective parents only. It is for prospective parents only. Your current parents They have a whole bunch of different ways to access information about your school, not the least of which is the regular newsletters and announcements that you're sending home to them. They can also follow you on your social media. They can come into the office and ask you questions. They don't need that front page of the website. There can be a button right there at the top of the page that says current parents, and will take them to all the information that they need. But your home page, that is for people who are coming to your website for the first time. So if you look at your website and you find that your homepage is covered with calendar items that are coming up in the school week, announcements about things that just happened at the school, tells you what's going to be for lunch on Wednesday, that is not engaging for a prospective family. They want to know more about what's really happening in your school on a broader level, not what's happening on Tuesday at movie night. Those things are nice to know. They can find them deeper into the website if they need to. Another tip that I have is engage an out-of-area friend to evaluate your website. And this could be another administrator, another educator somewhere else in the country. Even better, it could be a person that you know who lives somewhere else who has a school-age child. For me, this was my sister, and my sister has a son. And so she knew what it was like to look for schools. So whenever I needed to have my school's website evaluated, I would send it to her and ask these exact questions. If you were looking for a school, would you be interested in this one? If so, why? If not, why not? And would you know how to register? So this is a really handy tip. Go ahead and send this to people who you trust who might be able to evaluate your site for you. Here's a page of examples from the Archdiocese of Chicago of some websites that I think are getting it quite right. You know, if you go through the checklist, they've matched up with these things. The bulk of these websites have a great diamond right at the top of the page. Some of these were the ones that I featured up above talking about their diamonds. But also I also offer 1-hour website reviews where I can go through with you your website and talk about the things that you might be able to change, the things that you might want to look at. But by and large, you're going to be able to look at your site through new eyes, through this prospective parent lens, and you're going to understand right away, like there's a couple tweaks that we might need to make. It doesn't need to be animated. It doesn't need to be insanely pretty. It needs to be clear and concise and lead people through the story of your school. The online interest form. If you don't have one, you need one. And good news, because you're here on this training today, you can have one for free. I can design one and customize it for you. It will look very much like this form that's on the page here, and it lives on your website. It's a very easy piece of code to embed in your website. And the beauty thing is, whenever someone is interested in your school, interested in taking a tour or finding out more, they can fill this out. You have information about them, you have information about their students, and then that is stored in a Google Sheet, which is very much like an Excel form. And you then have that forever. You can reach back out to this family. You can add columns to the sheet so that you can say, I contacted them on this date, this date, this date. Here's when I followed up. Here's when I sent a letter. Here's when they took a tour. Here's when they enrolled. It can make for a very easy tracking system. If you don't have a prospect tracking system right now, this can be it. So if you'd like, I can create this for you, and it would take it would be very quick to turn around and get back to you. And I would be happy to do it. To me, it is the simplest way to be able to track people. This is also a really handy way of gathering information from people out in the field. When you're doing a street fest, when you're collecting names after mass, have a tablet there. Pull up your interest form, have people fill that out, and you've got it. They don't have to write anything down. They can just fill in the fields that they're comfortable with, and you're done. And then you've got a way to track them very easily, instead of then taking these paper sheets, these paper interest forms, and inputting them into a system later on. Social media. Social media is a vital retention tool for schools. It is not as much the recruitment tool that you would hope it would be, although there are many ways to use it as a recruitment tool, and we can talk about that separately. Online advertising, paid advertising, these are prime ways to get in front of a new audience. But as far as how you're using your social media on a day-to-day basis, this is far more looking at that retention end of the enrollment continuum than the recruitment end. You have probably heard this before. When a student comes home at the end of a day of school and their parent says, "What did you do today?" And they say, "Nothing." We call that the nothing problem. And it doesn't seem like that big a problem until you realize that you're talking about a parent who's paying quite a lot of money to provide this education for their kid. Excuse me. And while they know that they are absolutely doing things at school, they might become distraught that their child can't ever remember any of it or doesn't feel passionately enough about any of it to talk about it when they get home. There are a lot of ways to talk about that nothing problem and solve that problem, but social media is the primary way to do it. We want to be putting things on social media that are snapshots of a day in the life of our school as often as possible. I recommend roughly one a day. More than one a day and you're going to start to get lost, but one a day and well planned out. So you can see these three here are three of my favorite posts. The first one, we're looking at St. Bernadette Catholic School in Florida, and they now have an esports team. And this was a huge post for them. A lot of people didn't know this existed. And a lot of families who were looking for opportunities for their children beyond the typical sports opportunities or some of the arts opportunities, they wanted something new for their child that fit in with them. And esports turned out to be incredibly popular for them. So this post really blew up. All the way to the right, we have a naming contest. People love a naming contest. If you have a mascot that doesn't have a name, this is a great way to drive social media engagement. Get people to work with you on naming that mascot. The middle one of my favorites, it's from St. Pius School, my old school, and this isn't even my post. I wish it was. This is from after I left the school. The next marketer happened to be walking through the hall one day and saw one kid stop another kid. The older kid said to the younger one, your shoe's untied. And the younger one said, yeah, I don't know how to tie it. The older one didn't think twice. He sat on that step and he tied his shoe for him. That's St. Pius V School. That is worth $1,000, right there. Like, an image is worth $1,000. This one's worth 10, so this is really 1,000 words. Anyway, this was an incredibly valuable moment. It really was so definitive of the school, and you can look at that and see, yes, that's what we're doing here. So the more of those items you can get, and obviously this is going to be a tough one to find. They don't just, well, in a good school, they do just happen every day, but capturing them, getting them up there and making use of them is really important. So social media is your most important retention tool. This is the way that we're going to let parents know what's happening in the school, but we have to be intentional about it. And intentionality is really my buzzword for always. One thing that I always advise schools to do is to tell the truth. And it's not that schools are lying. It's not that they're not telling the truth. It's that they're not telling enough of the truth. There's so much that you can communicate. We need to be very direct with what we say and what we do. And the major way that we do that is to be planful. So you want to create a social media editorial calendar if you can. You can get ahead of your social media and you can know all of the events that are coming up so that on the day of a holiday, you're not suddenly scrambling to come up with a post to put up there. You were already prepared. You saw it coming on the calendar. You've already prepared the post. Social media now will also allow you to time posts so that if you had time on a Monday, just a quick hour to put together the posts for the rest of the week or even 2 weeks, you could put together all of those posts and time them to go out on those days at specific times. Oh, and by the way, those specific times, noon and 5 p.m. when people are on lunch and when people are just getting off of work. Those are the times that you want your social media posts to go out. That is the time when they will end up at the top of someone's feed at the time that they're looking at it. So noon and 5 p.m., those are the times you want to post. And if you have something really important, put it in the middle of the week. Wednesday is the #1 day for users on social media. Facebook in particular has its most users right around noon and 5 p.m. on Wednesday. So quick tip there. But anyway, create a social media calendar. Make sure your posts are fairly evenly distributed across your grades, activities, and values. That's what the calendar allows you to do. When you go back through your social media, you might find that you have 18 pictures of your pre-K classroom because they're adorable, and 18 pictures of your 8th grade classroom because they're reaching so many milestones on their way to graduation, but then very few pictures of your middle grades. A social media calendar can prevent that. You can choose to do specific grades on specific days and then rotate that over and over again so that you're showing off as much of your school as possible. So in that resource library, there are also 2 examples of social media calendars. They're fairly outdated, but they're a great starting point. They're a great place to download, to clear it out, and then do your own calendar on top of it. Very simple to use, but you can use anything for this. You can use Excel as a great way to track your social media posts before you make them. And then encouraging parents to leave reviews. I go into more depth in this in other trainings, but greatschools.org, Private School Review, Yelp, Facebook, Google Places. Those are 5 places where you can ask parents to leave reviews for you. And it's really important that they do that. You don't need a ton of reviews, but you need a few, because odds are good that if you only have 1 review on one of these sites, it's because you had one parent who has an axe to grind. They had some kind of experience, they blew it out of proportion, and then they left a really horrible review for you on one of these pages. You need other reviews above that. They're going to say, I don't understand what that person's talking about. I've had a completely different experience. Everything's been positive at this school. So having no reviews is okay. Having one review is pretty terrible. Having 5 reviews is totally acceptable. That's pretty wonderful. Don't do them all at once. Some of these sites do catch on when you're doing a review campaign. This is an opportunity to tap on specific parents' shoulders throughout the year and say, would you mind posting something for me? This parent testimonial on the right from St. William, terrific. And a lot of schools are really hyper intentional about getting these parent testimonials. You should be too. You should have these testimonials all over your Facebook page, all over your Instagram page, all over your website. Because for parents who are looking for a school, this is what they want to know. What experience are people already having inside of their school? Time for a little clickbait. 5 ways to increase your social media audience today. I love clickbait. Clickbait always has things like today. It has a timeline. It always has a number like 5 ways. You'll notice this all over the place. Clickbait works. But here's the first way to generate some new social media followers. You have a lot of parents in your school who are not currently following your social media. We need to put at least one link in every single newsletter that we send home. Every communication needs to have one link to our social media. If you have an e-newsletter, you can just add it and have a story about the JV football team that just won a championship. And you can link directly to the photos of that on Instagram or on Facebook. They go there, they like your page, they're seeing what they need to see. This preps them for the future when we need to get information out to them in a way that is really quick. If you have a snow day coming up or a hurricane day, as they often face in Miami, you need to get that information out quickly, and editing your website might or might not be simple, but putting it up on Instagram and Facebook, that's super fast. And if people are primed to see your posts, if they have liked your page, engaged with you, you will appear higher up in their page and they will see the information that they need when they need to see it. If you have a physical newsletter, you can still do this. You can still put a line in there that says, please go to our social media page in order to see these pictures of our adorable pre-K kids dressed as their favorite saints. So always try to drive people to those social media places. It is a much easier place to update. Your website can afford to be relatively static. Your website can kind of stand still for most of the time. Your social media should move. Your social media should be well updated. And you can then take a widget, a social media widget for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever you use, and put that onto your homepage so that your homepage, every time you go to it, looks different because there's always a new story that pops up. But you didn't have to do anything on your website itself from day to day. Number 2, enlist your parents. Ask them to post often. I'll remind you here that social media is meant to be social. And I know that whenever I've suggested have your parents post often, a lot of schools cringe because they've had experiences with parents that have been, let's say, less than positive on social media, where they have left comments that were inappropriate, that were motivated by some annoyance or something like that. And they got nervous about accepting all of these comments and all of these posts. We have plenty of schools that have even turned off commenting for their social media, and that just won't work. Social media is social. It's a two-way street. It can't just be you putting information out into the void and hoping for the best. You want to have people engage with you. Plus, that's how you impact the algorithm on these sites. Basically, the more you're seen, the more you're seen. If people engage with your posts, like them, share them, comment on them, you will show up in the feeds of other people who have a similar interest or have liked your page. That's how posts go viral. So you want people to engage. And the first way that they're going to engage is by posting as regularly as possible. St. Teresa here, they do a testimonial Tuesday, and I love that idea. Every single Tuesday, they're getting a testimonial from a family, adding a photo, which makes it super palatable. People really love to see this kind of thing, and giving you an idea of what's going on in their school. And for current families, this gives them more confidence in what's happening at their school, makes them feel like part of a larger system and makes them feel like things are going well there. And for prospective families, this shows them how much current families care about this place. They must be doing something right because look how many people love them. Every Tuesday, they've got this beautiful testimonial up there. This takes some work to do, but this is something that you can have your volunteers, your parent ambassadors, things like that, working on behind the scenes the whole time. Anytime someone says something nice to you about your school, ask them to write it down and post it. 3A, a sharing contest. This one's centered around faith. So it's kind of hard to see in this picture, but these students are in the shape of a rosary. So they are a living rosary. That's beautiful. It's a beautiful image. It took a lot of work to get this all set up. This is an excellent post, but it's a reminder that every post needs a call to action. It's one thing to put this up there and say, look what a great job these kids did. Okay, that's fine. People get to see it, and that's a nice thing. But it is so much more impactful if you can say on there, look what a great job they did. Please like this and share it with as many people as possible. Don't forget, every share is a prayer for our students and for their success. Make sure to leave comments below about what this means to you, or the times that the rosary has had an impact on your life, or why you love that your student is going to a school that allows them to do something like this. So have that call to action in every post. Every post should invite them to do something, to take a further action. Liking and sharing are the most basic ways to do that. 3B, a sharing contest, and this one is about fun. So the other one was about faith, this one's about fun. Sharing contests are wonderful. We've got a holiday coming up. We're probably too close to Christmas right now in order to make this one work, but look ahead. See if you can do something like this for Easter, for Catholic Schools Week. Ask your teachers and students to decorate the doors to their classroom and then post them all on your social media, and the door that gets the most likes, that classroom gets a pizza party or an ice cream party or something simple like that. An ice cream party, by the way, when I talk about that, all I mean is going to the local grocery store and getting $20 worth of ice cream sandwiches and popsicles. It is enough to motivate students beyond belief. But having these shares up there is the most wonderful thing. So you put these doors up and you say, don't forget to share these doors. Your classroom is trying to vie for this party. Then sit back and let your competitive parents do the rest. They will start sharing this all over the place, and suddenly you're in front of a whole bunch of new eyes, new friends that you have never seen your page before, and they're seeing something exciting that's happening at your school. So this is an excellent outcome. Number 4, Throwback Thursday. Every Thursday, Throwback Thursday. Boy, oh boy, do I love Throwback Thursday. Throwback Thursday is also a terrific way to start your legacy program, your alumni program, and a big part of your fundraising and development program. Throwback Thursday, when I was doing it at St. Pius, was so simple. We had a giant box of pictures in the basement that I pulled up to the office and started scanning. And every week I would just put out a handful of pictures. And for example, during these weeks, I was putting out all of the yearbook pages basically from those years. I would tag 1 or 2 parents who were current legacy parents, and that means an alumni who now brings their kids to the school. In fact, let me divert real quick and talk about the legacy program. You probably, hopefully, have legacy parents at your school. From now on, we do not call them alumni parents, we call them legacy parents, because we're building something. We're building something that's going to go on, hopefully, for a long time. A lot of your schools probably have 3rd generation legacy, maybe even 4th generation. It's time to start calling them that, recognizing them as that, and doing things to celebrate that. So for example, if you have a student whose parent also graduated from your school, when they graduate, give them a little pin to put on their gown that says legacy. It is so meaningful. During Catholic Schools Week, celebrate legacy families. Take pictures of the student and the parent together, possibly put the side-by-side pictures of the student and the parent when they were the same age at the same school. Put those in your hallway, celebrate those families. It means a lot, but it means a lot to people on the outside too. It means a lot to be able to say, I loved my school experience enough that I wanted it for my child. A lot of people went to elementary schools where they would not send their kid. I wouldn't send my kid to my elementary school, but these schools are so good that people are coming back for generations. So that's a legacy program. At any rate, you post this online, you tag one of your legacy parents, they tag every friend in here because they went to Catholic school and they still know these friends 20 years later. They will tag all of these people for you, and suddenly you have all of these alumni following your page and you've got contacts with them. You can now connect with alumni that were going to be hard to find otherwise. So let the alumni come and find you by using Throwback Thursday. And finally, pure gold, teacher birthdays. Oh, do I love teacher birthdays. They are the most fantastic post because you can use this to generate really terrific comments about your teachers. I'll tell you a quick story. This is Mr. Zysek. He was the 8th grade teacher at St. Pius School, still is. He is a terrific guy, and he is terrifying. He is the most intimidating teacher, and all of the kids are afraid of him when they start 8th grade or before they start 8th grade. Even the whole time that they're at the school, he's an intimidating presence. But once you're in his class, he takes the best care of you. He makes sure that everything is taken care of. He stays after hours to make sure that you get into the high school that you want to get into. He will do anything for his students. But he's a very gruff figure. And when I asked him, can I put your picture on social media for your birthday? He said, absolutely not. Don't do that. I did it anyway, because I was excited about it. And I said, this is Mr. Zasek. He's done all of these amazing things for our kids. Would you please leave your favorite Mr. Zasek story below, or a few words for him or something you remember about him? And we got so many amazing comments. And so at the end of the day, I took my laptop down to his room. I plugged it into his smart board, so it was up on the wall, and showed him all of these beautiful comments from all of these former students of his. And as I scrolled through, he stood there with his arms crossed and his meanest face. And I saw just a little teardrop trickle down from one eye. He was so moved by it. And he just looked at it and said, that one, that one, that one. Give me their email addresses. I want to talk to them. And every year after that, he was thrilled when we would do our teacher birthday post for him. And it means so much. And it is a great way to get people to comment and talk about their experiences there. These are always the most popular posts that schools put up, is their teacher birthdays. Try it out. You'll find it. You'll love it. Next up, we're going to talk about parent ambassadors, and this will be fairly brief. But this is the one strategy that is working across the country. In every diocese that I've worked with, in every school that I've worked with, parent ambassadors are really doing the trick. And a parent ambassador group can be many different things. It doesn't have to be so formal, but the beauty of a parent ambassador group is that it is hand chosen. It is not like other parent volunteer groups in your school where you throw the doors open and whoever joins, joins. This is your opportunity as a school leader to engage parents who you think would have a positive impact on your school. So parent ambassadors can be really specific. So choose parents specifically who meet the needs that you want to meet. I do have a quick question that came in. Sure. And so the question that came in through the chat is, how do you post teacher birthdays without leaving out some teachers, if you have a larger staff, or not losing the significance because you're posting about a birthday every other week? You'd be surprised. So even with a relatively small staff at St. Pius, we were still posting, almost every third week or so. And at larger schools, you'll be posting probably every other week to every week, and sometimes 2 a day. They are still equally popular every time. You take a moment to say something nice about the teacher. You take a moment to ask for these comments, and it ends up being meaningful every time. It never lost significance to our families. Even in between those posts, we would have other posts that didn't hit, that didn't get as popular. But every time we'd put up a birthday, it ended up being popular again. So, try very carefully to make sure that you've included everyone. Look at your lunch staff, look at your custodial staff, anyone who works with and for your school. You want to try to include them as well. And not just because this is a great marketing tool, but because it's such a sweet thing to do for them and families love it. So it does take a little effort, but it does not actually wane in popularity over time. People actually still really engage with it. Plus, whenever they engage with it, they're more likely to see the next post as well. So those birthdays kind of compound and build upon themselves. So the one strategy that's working across the country, parent ambassadors. A parent ambassador program supplements your marketing efforts in a way that's incredibly meaningful to prospective parents, organizes parents of current students and prepares them to be part of your school's recruitment team, and brings them either into the school or sends them out into the community to connect and build relationships with parents of prospective students. And the Archdiocese of Chicago built a really nice parent ambassador guidebook that I'll give you access to. It's quite long. It is a book. I like to make it simpler than that. It doesn't have to be super formalized. You have to guarantee the things that you would usually guarantee with a volunteer, which is to say that they're meeting all compliance standards, that they're background checked and Virtus trained. And then you have to spend some time training them. That's also something I can help with. I can help you develop your group and help train the group, meet with them regularly if you'd like. But they can be so impactful. At the schools that are doing it the best, the parents are actually the ones who are offering school tours. They'll come in, meet with a prospective family, and take them on the tour themselves, answer all the questions that we as administrators never even think to answer. So these parents know what they're talking about, and they are terrific ambassadors for your school. But they are ambassadors. That's the key thing to point out. In that first meeting, what I'll always say is, here's what a parent ambassador group is not. It is not a booster club. It is not a fundraising organization. It is not a school board or a PTO. It is not here to make changes inside of the school. It is here to share the word about everything that's going well inside the school. These are people who can help you with that value proposition. These are people who can help you with your branding. Hopefully these are folks who are great at going out and talking to people, at meeting people after mass. Maybe look for things that you're missing. If your website could use better photographs, look for parents who are photographers. Look for parents who have a studio or have professional equipment or just love to take pictures. Get them in there to work with you. Look for parents who are great administrators, who are great at typing and putting together files very quickly, and parents who are just great talkers. They're great at being out in front of people. You're going to need all kinds of parents, but you only need about 5 or 6 of them. It can be a very small group, and they will still have a huge impact on your school. They are one of the ways that we can turn retained families into referring families, but we don't even need a parent ambassador group for that necessarily, though they would help a lot. What we need first and foremost is a referral incentive. It's the best way to encourage families to spread the word about your school. When we ask people at our school, we asked them, would you recommend this school to other families who aren't school families? And a good 90+% of them said, yes, I would absolutely recommend this school to other people. Then we asked, have you recommended this school to other families? And it was only about 40%. And the reason that we found over and over again, they just hadn't thought of it. It just didn't come up. They will talk about their vacations. They'll talk about their new TVs. They'll talk about their new cars. They'll talk about everything that they spend money on except for their most important investment, their child's education. But they will do it if we remind them. And a referral incentive is the best way to remind them. And I've had this argument time and time again with school administrators, with pastors, with people all over the system. We lose money when we offer a referral incentive. Not true at all. Because right now, you have a seat in your school that is empty, and it is worth $0 at this point. If I was to offer a $500 referral incentive, and a family brought in another family that then paid full tuition minus $500, that seat is now worth full tuition minus $500. So if tuition was $5,000, I now have $4,500 for a seat that was worth $0. To fill empty seats, this is the way to do it. Referral incentives are the way to do it. They are not a money loser. They're a money gainer. They are for revenue. And if that referred family stays for several years, that's revenue that you have over and over again. And hopefully then they turn into a referring family as well. So you can launch or revamp a referral program by announcing it by email, website, social media, phone messenger. The point is to make it timely and flashy. It's not about the money. I know the money is a big part of it. And at some schools where we have families who are in need and who could really benefit for this sort of thing, the money is an important aspect. But for us, it's far more about the awareness, talking to parents about talking to other parents. So we want to make it big and flashy. Think Toyotathon. And so a great way to launch your referral incentive is to do it during Catholic Schools Week or at a time when enrollment is about to start, and remind parents over and over and over again that this is a huge deal. In fact, it's such a big deal that for the months of March and April, we're going to double it. We're going to give you twice the referral incentive if you bring in a family during this time. Again, it's not about the money, it's about the awareness, it's about the excitement, it's about the reminder over and over again. Make it clear that the new family must enroll and stay for a set amount of time. For us, that was actually just enrolling successfully, paying their fees and paying their first tuition payment. And then we would knock off that tuition credit, the referral credit. Make sure that families have the tools that they need in order to refer contacts to your school. Before you start this program, you need to prepare parents. You need to give them a year's worth of all of this social media, telling them all these great things about your school, and then a very specific script that says, hey, here's some things that you can talk about when you talk to people. Because so often when parents are asked, what do you like about your school? They'll say, my kid seems to be doing well. The teachers are nice. So yeah, pretty good. That's not enough. I want to hear a parent say, we have a STREAM program. Do you know what that is? A STREAM program. My kid is doing all these incredible things. They're learning music. He joined an esports team. I didn't even know that was a thing. And now he's a member. He never participated in anything and he loves this. You have to prepare parents with those scripts and with those materials. Now we agonize over brochures. I don't love brochures. People want to get less now, not more, less paper. So here's a better way to do it. A referral card, the size of a business card. You can give a stack of these to parents. In fact, we used to print them in the school office on cardstock that we had bought from Amazon that was pre-perforated business card stock. And you could just send a sheet home with parents and it was 10 cards and you would say, give these out to people who you want to refer to our school. St. William in the middle here went a step further. They were smart. They put parent ambassador name at the bottom of there. So that when a family comes back to your school with this card, they can say, I was referred by this exact family. That will clear up any confusion that might happen when a family comes in and says, oh, I was referred by this family, but I also know this family, so maybe you should give them the referral. No, it's on the card. It shows them right there. So these are terrific ways to have just something very small that parents can keep in a pocket or a purse or in the dash of their car. And when they're talking to another parent about your school, they can hand that off. It's got the website. You spent so much time building the website. Why would you spend more time building a brochure? Hand them the card that takes them right there. Even having a QR code on the card, that's a great way to go. You'll see at the bottom there that you can click for a sample of a referral business card. That's a sample that you can then take and download and customize for yourself. Very simple. So an example of an effective referral incentive launch, I won't read you this whole thing, but this is just the text that would be on your referral incentive launch that would just make it clear to parents that this is what we're offering right now. But there are other great incentives too that you can offer. So for example, in working with Miami, in Florida, they have terrific scholarship opportunities from the state for kids. Therefore, a lot of the families that were coming in didn't have to pay any tuition at all. So having a referral incentive that was monetary didn't do much for them. It didn't really motivate them. So they had to look at other referral incentives like waiving a registration fee that they did have to pay, providing a free school uniform or a gym uniform or a nut card. And we're going to talk about the nut card in a little bit here, but the nut card is one of the most powerful free tools that you can imagine. But you want to send home frequent reminders. You want to get this into parents' hands over and over again. I created this for St. Louis. It looks like a $500 bill, but it's just printed on copy paper and you send it home here and there during this announcement time and people get that reminder. Early re-enrollment incentives, something big and visual, something in your hallway, like rocking into the new year where you have a giant paper guitar that every kid who re-enrolls, they sign it. We found that a lot of families who we knew, quote unquote, were coming back were not registering until the end of the school year. There's no reason for that. You should never have to check in with your current families during the summer. Don't spend the summer chasing them. Use these early re-enrollment incentives to get them in the door. A classroom competition. The first classroom to hit 100% response rate, not 100% returning because not every student will, but 100% response rate gets an ice cream party. A school-wide competition. If we get to 90% response rate by April 1st, then the principal gets a pie in the face. Now, I know that that's not the most exciting thing for a principal. You can find a teacher instead who would be willing to do this, but remember what it is getting you. At St. Pius, we went from about 45% re-enrolled at the end of every school year to about 85% re-enrolled at the end of every school year, just with these simple strategies. I then did not have to spend my summers chasing our current families. And of course, the nut card. That's this guy right here. No uniform today. How do you use a nut card? You wait until the end of the school day. You visit the classroom. You bring the student up in front of the class. You applaud them. Miguel, where are you, Miguel? Come on up here. Miguel is coming back next year. Everybody give him a big hand. We're so excited that he's going to be part of our school family again. Miguel, you got this nut card. You can use it next Friday. And next Friday, you do not have to wear a uniform. Congratulations. Say, who else wants a nut card? Every hand goes into the air. Everybody wants a nut card. Well, how do you do it? You just got to remind your parents to bring in your paperwork. Bring it in tomorrow morning, and we can get you that nut card. And also, by the way, did you know that right now you guys in 4th grade are at 70% response rate? The 6th grade is only at 45% response rate. You are beating them like crazy, but 3rd grade is already at 85% response rate. So you have got to get those forms in and then send them outside to their parents. That's why you do it at the end of the school day, so that they remember it right as they walk out the door. They run to their parents, they say, I want a nut card, how do I get it? You've got to turn in your paperwork, and the next morning, I'd have 5 angry parents lined up at my desk saying, How do I get my kid a nut card? They're driving me insane. The nut card is powerful. Finally, a few brief words on financial aid. The fundamentals of financial aid and discounting. The first thing and the most important thing you need to know is to check with your diocese. Your diocese might have specific instructions on financial aid about how you offer it, how you can bring in more families in need. But beyond that, you should offer financial aid, and by financial aid, I essentially mean discounts, in a responsible way. And here's the way to do that. You form a financial aid committee so that it's not in the hands of just one person, that it's not just the principal making this decision. It might be the principal, the pastor, and the school's accountant. You use a financial aid assessor, Facts or Smart. These are great ways to do it, although you will know that these often kick back a number that says this family doesn't qualify for any aid, even though you know that based on their income, based on their number of students, that they would benefit from a discounted tuition rate. So instead, you think about the seats that you need to fill. Are these in classrooms where we have open seats? If they are, we want to make a deal with this family. We want to find a way to get them in here. Come up with a variable tuition floor so that everyone feels comfortable. We are never going to go below this rate. We believe that every family needs to be invested at least this amount to be fully part of our school, to really be invested in what we're doing here. So we'll never go below that for people making this income. And there are a lot of charts on this based on like local scholarships and things like that. So try to use a variable tuition floor based on what a family's income is and their need is. And then you can go back to the family and make the offer, but be prepared to negotiate or to say, no, I'm sorry, we just can't, bring the price down that much. We think our school has a distinct and significant value that you should, that would be at this price. And below that, we really just wish we could help you, but we can't. Have a big heart here, but also, understand that it needs to be done responsibly. We can't discount every student in the school. That's not going to work out. But if we have open seats, empty seats, discounting can be an effective way of doing it. So here is an example of what I mean by that. And I won't take you through every number, but the baseline is if you lost 5% of your enrollment because you had families who were going to leave the school because they can no longer afford it. So 10 students, basically you've graduated a number of students. There are other students coming in. Some of your current students can't afford it. Some of the students coming in can't afford it. You could just lose those 10 kids and you would lose, you'd be at a deficit of 50,000 compared to this year. Or you can maintain enrollment by bringing in 10 students at a discount. So either your returning students or the new students at a discount of 75 or 50%, and you would be at a much smaller deficit. Or you could discount even more students and you could be at a surplus. It's very simple math, but it's not always intuitive. People think that when we discount tuition, we lose money. We don't. If we have open seats, filling them with a student who is paying anything is better than not filling them. Plus, we have a mission. We're training angels and saints to go out and make a difference in the world. So remember that mission as you're talking about these financial aid issues. And the impact on your budgeting process, expenses should not be impacted. You should not be increasing expenses to take in more discounted students. We're talking about filling empty seats, so we're not going to be hiring additional teachers. And revenues, you need to be careful on how you budget revenues based on discounts. New students obviously will be an additional revenue from filling an empty seat, but for existing students, it can be a little bit tricky. If they get a new scholarship or financial aid and then don't get it the following year, that can impact your budget too. So be very careful when you are budgeting for the coming school year. So that's essentially it, and that's a lot. But I want you to remember always your marketing pitch: pride, intentionality, teamwork, creativity, honesty. These are the keys to a successful marketing program. And if you can keep these in mind, you're going to be doing great. So like I said, these slides are going to go out to you. You can review them in more depth. I wanted to get through a lot of stuff today because it's so important to get this all ready before Catholic Schools Week and enrollment starts. So I wanted to open it up to questions now. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop those into the chat box. And if you'd like to reach me, there are many ways to do it. As I mentioned, my name is Kurt Lewis. My company is Education Marketing Solutions. My website is kurtthemarketer.com, or you can reach me at kurtthemarketer@gmail.com, facebook.com/kurtthemarketer, instagram.com/kurtthemarketer. Wherever you see Kurt the Marketer, that's this guy. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you got a lot out of it. As I said, I'm available to talk to. I'm working with several dioceses across the country right now. I would love to work with yours as well. And on my website, there are a lot of options as to how you can work with me, how you can contract me for a semester or for a school year, for an individual school or for an entire diocese. I can definitely make a big difference for you. So with that said, if there are any questions, I'll take those now. And if not, I hope you know that there is another webinar coming up in January. I believe we have a couple coming up then that are marketing focused, but keep your eye on the Procedo project. They're doing amazing things, and they're going to be a big player in this field. So, so Procedo project, thank you again for inviting me, and thank you all for joining us. I hope you have a terrific day.
Great. Thank you so much, Kurt, for joining us today. I don't see any questions in the chat at the moment. So because of that, I think we'll go ahead and end for today, and everybody has a way to reach Kurt if you do have any additional questions. So we definitely encourage you to reach out to him. And we'll also be posting, this webinar on our site as well. So thank you so much, Kurt, and thank you everybody for joining us today on behalf of the Procedo project. Really enjoyed having you with us. Somebody mentioned how we'll be able to access the links in the presentation. Kurt is going to send those out, and we'll also post those on the Procedo website as well. And then we'll be sending them to everybody as well who attended the webinar. So thanks so much, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful day.